What's up, guys? How you doing? It's your homeboy Cowboy Crunk coming to you from Kabul, Afghanistan. Your war daddy, ready to get this season started again. Again, if you guys saw the video yesterday, I apologize for missing out. I'm trying. I don't even have my studio here or anything. I traveled light because you guys know I'm coming home. I'll be home for about a month. I'll be home for preseason. Then I'll come back over here probably a couple weeks, and I'll be headed to Germany. So if you don't know about that, check out the last videos. It's just a job change and all those things. Everything are going great, but I will eventually be in the Houston office working for the government, and then I'll be settled in. So got a lot of stuff to do: selling the house, selling the cars, all those things, and relocating. So, anyways, this is Cowboy season. It's time to talk about the Cowboys, not talking about jobs and all those things. But I did want to bring up the serious situation right now is the guys we see in the background back there. This is the best thing I can do right now, guys. I just put up a slideshow, so I'll try to change this up every day. I gotta fit the pictures to the screen. It'll be a little bit better, but look at this, man. These guys, they're pouring. We're trying to sign our top three offensive players right now, the most important players on our offensive side of the ball. You guys know. Sitting here watching NFL Network, everything went great. They talked about Dak Prescott, how they should do it. Dak, if he takes too much, then you have a little, the thing is, every player you pay, it affects other player salary. Even your second tier players, it affects your third tier players. Your third tier players, it affects the guys on special teams, that just come in for special team downs and stuff like that. So these players, us signing these three contracts we're doing right now, this right here determines the recent future of the Dallas Cowboys. This determines the next 3 years for Zeke, 3 or 4 years for Zeke. It determines the next 8 years possibly for Dak Prescott. Not saying he's going to get a contract that long, but you never know what's going to happen. They could roll him out really long and spread it out over time and pay him $35 million. But over 8 years, it's a little different. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But they've got to do this. They've got to keep it within the financial constitution of the Dallas Cowboys to keep these guys paid. The way I look at it is this: you have the cap. The cap is X. The cap is X. That if you're looking at algebra, geometry, this is really simple math, but it turns into algebra and calculus even at some point in time. But the cap is X. So you have your players, which are A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F, all the way through to Z, whatever. That is your factors to get X. You've got to keep your ABC, A plus B plus C plus D, under X. If you don't do that, then you've got to take a player out of the equation. So the larger A is, the less B has to be. The larger B is, the less C has to be. And that's just the way it is, guys. And that's why this is taking so long. There is a priority to get Dak signed. There is a priority to get Zeke signed. We know how Amari Cooper changed the team when he came. There were other changes made. Mark Colombo coming in. Some of the linemen changed up a little bit. We had some guys that were kind of injured, and we brought some guys in that were able to help and step in on the offensive line. And Chris Richard made a few minor changes on defense as well at that same off week we had, right around the off week. That's where our team catapulted and really made a charge for the playoffs. Look at that, man. Hey, fly? That's the Eagle. Fly Eagles? That's not the Eagles flying. That's Ezekiel Elliott flying right there, baby. And so we've got to get these guys signed. It is important. It is it's pertinent to the team that we keep these three guys together. That's the three guys we have to have. When you talk about the trifecta, when you talk about the guys we've had in the past, not Tony Romo, but yeah, even in the Tony Romo day, we were kind of missing a running back. We were missing a line, but Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith. That's what we have right now. We have that right now, guys. We have it. My thing with Dak is he the best quarterback in the league? At this point, I would say, no, of course not. But I'll tell you this: there's probably only one quarterback in the league I would take in front of him right now. When you throw how young he is, look at this. These guys would follow him into a freaking volcano. Without a doubt, in a second, they would follow him into a fiery-ass volcano if he said, hey, we're going to go there, we're going to shut this volcano down, we're going to save the city. the Cowboys would get behind him. They would march into the damn volcano, and he'd probably bring them back alive. That's just what Dak does. In the fourth quarter, he gets it done. You can say shit about his stats. You can say his numbers aren't there. You can say this. A part of that is because we run a clock. We run a continuous clock with Ezekiel Elliott. Feed Ezekiel Elliott. That clock is running. We keep the score low. We let our defense win the game for us, and then we put Dak in the fourth quarter, and he takes us down there and he wins games. And that's just the way it is. Did we have a bad game against the Rams? Yes, we did. Did we have a bad game against the Colts prior to the playoffs? Yes, we did. Those are the two games we had pretty much we had our worst defensive stance against the running game. And we never figured out the game plan that the Rams had or the Colts had, and we had two games where we didn't play well. Could we have won the Rams game? Yes, I think we would have if we would have made a play on Jared Goff when he rolls out and gets that like 12 yards for the first down. If we stop him there, I think we win that game. To me, that's part of it goes on the edge, and part of that goes to the safety. Why did the safety not step up and make that play? I'll have to watch it. If there's a receiver deep on that side, of course, the time it took for that play to develop, the safety's not going to be there. He's not going to be up on the line if there's a receiver deep. So I would like to look at that play better. But if we stop Jared Goff on that run, we win that game. And who knows what happens after that. As far as Dak Prescott goes, like I was saying, this guy's a leader. He's a winner. And what you have to do, on and off the field, Dak Prescott, there's not a damn thing wrong with the guy. Nothing. Other than on the field, a little bit of accuracy issues, and he has a pocket presence issue. We know that. Those are two things you can coach. You can coach those two things. You can't coach leadership. You can't coach the players loving him. You can't coach the ability of the players to want to follow this guy. It's that's not coachable. So we have some things in him that's not coachable that he has. He's been dealt a good hand. I will say that. I'm checking off my notes here. Dak Prescott's been dealt a good hand. Is he as good as people think we think he is? Outside the Dallas Cowboy franchise, some people think he's not that great. Some of the people in the Dallas Cowboy franchise think he's not that great. I think they're not looking at the overall concept of what a quarterback has to have. You can have an accurate quarterback. You can have a guy that can throw the ball through a tire all damn day and never miss. But if he can't lead a team and he has a cocky arrogance about him that players don't like, they're not going to respond well to him. Dak doesn't have that. I'm going to move on from Dak. We've done enough. Zeke. One more thing about Dak. You've got to compare him to the players within his time frame, within his similar position, his peers is what we call it in the business world. Dak, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson, guys like that, Kansas City. I can't even think right now. A little younger, still coming up, only had 1 year. Baker Mayfield, these guys. But still, you've got to look at his peers, look at what he's doing, what he's accomplishing, and you've got to say, he's done more. He's won more than all those guys. He has more fourth quarter wins. So it's been put on his back to win games a few times. Now, it's not been put on his back to win games from start to finish. They're not asking him to throw for 400 yards every game. If he can average 280, get close to 300, those are games we're going to win. The one game they put it on him, I believe it was against the New York Giants. The last game of the season, we weren't required to win. It was and they didn't play Zeke much. They played him a little bit, but they put it on Dak, and I'll post that on a second video. If someone knows, put it in the comment box which game that was. But Dak threw for close to 500 yards. He had like 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and it wasn't a vital game for us to win. And I don't remember the stats, so if I'm off on that, I apologize. But there was a game that last year, into the season, that we weren't required to was it like I'll have to go back and look. I apologize. Now I'm talking in an area I don't know, but I'm 100% sure. I remember it very clearly. I just don't remember the exact game, but I do think it was the Giants. And he went after Eli Apple a lot. He tore Eli Apple's ass up all game. So you have to look at their peers, look and see what they make. The thing is, Dak, for him to take, when you talk about a team-friendly deal, he's not saying do the team a favor. No, keep your peers around you, man. Keep the guys there that are on the team. Do something, take a statement out, step out and say, hey, I took 31.5 million because there's players around me that I love, and I want to keep them here. I don't want these guys leaving. And if Jerry Jones has to sit down all three of them and talk to them at the same time, do it. Sit them down, bring your agents in, say, hey, I want all three of them here. We want to talk to them. I guarantee you the agents wouldn't go for it. The agents were like, hell no. You bring my man in one-on-one, talk to him, and pay him. That's the agent's job. But if the Cowboys sit down, if Dak can, talk to these guys and say, hey, let's work it out. Let's get this deal done so the three of us can stay, they can make it happen. Will that happen? I don't know. If it does, it'll be something completely different than probably ever's happened in the NFL. I've never heard of it happening before. But Zeke, you've got Gurley, you've got Le'Veon Bell, you've got Melvin Gordon, who's working on his contract right now too. I will say this: out of the three guys we need to sign, if any of them end up the highest paid person at their position, it's going to be Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott. Even though he's had the little off the field issues, he is probably the best running back in the NFL. You couldn't say Cooper's the best receiver. I wouldn't say Dak is the best quarterback, but I would say he's the best winning quarterback besides Tom Brady. I mean, that he's put up the numbers, So Zeke may end up the highest paid running back in the NFL. I think Dak ends up somewhere around the 32, 33 deal, hopefully closer to 32 or even 31. If he does that, it is to keep the other guys around him. But they have pressure by these other players too, and we hear so much about Dak Prescott. So many damn things about Dak Prescott. Oh, he's not this, he's not that, he don't deserve this. You know what I would do if I was Dak Prescott? I would take a $30 million contract. I would say, you know what, I'm going to reset the market. I'm going to show that these guys making more than me can't do what I can do. Y'all are going to be saying I'm underpaid. I took $30 million to keep my teammates around me. I'm going to win Super Bowls. I'm going to win games. I'm going to take this team to the next level. And you're going to be saying, man, they overpaid Russell Wilson. Man, they overpaid Jared Goff. Man, they overpaid Carson Wentz. Look at Dak Prescott winning these Super Bowls and doing this and doing that. That reset the market, Dak Prescott. Do it your damn self. Set the market by winning games and taking your salary and saying this is what a quarterback deserves. I can tell you this: 4 years ago, if you asked Dak Prescott, would you go to the Cowboys and take a contract for $30 million a year for 4 years? I guarantee you, he would not ask, well, what are the other players making? What are the other quarterbacks making? He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't give a damn. Now, did Dak Prescott, did he know he's going to be in the situation he's in now, being the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, going 13-3 his rookie season, going 9-7 the next season, 10-6 the next season? No, he didn't know that. But I guarantee you, if you gave him those stats and still asked him, would you take $30 million a year, he would do it. On the backside, Amari Cooper. We've got to get that deal worked too. You guys know the changes that were made at that time. Amari Cooper came in, and it did make a big difference. Having Cooper there, you've got to do something. You've got to put a guy in the box to cover Cooper, you got to put a guy in the box to cover Ezekiel Elliott, or you've got to put a guy deep in the safety. You got to go too high, for help with Amari Cooper, or you go one high. You put a guy in the box for Ezekiel Elliott. When those guys are both on the field, it changes the dynamics of the defense. You have to cover deep, you have to cover the middle, and you have to cover you need help on the defensive line because Ezekiel Elliott could break one at any damn minute. So this is where I'm at, guys. It's the way I look at it. I hope they work these deals together. That's why you're not seeing them particularly go after Dak first or go after Zeke first. I think they're talking to all three of the guys and see who's the most flexible, and then you go to the most flexible guy first, you get the deal done, and then you have that money remaining to go to the next player. Then you work the next two guys. If Dak is the most flexible and he comes first and he signs for 31, 32, you say, hey, we'll take that's a deal. We take 32, we sign Dak, now we have a little bit more for Zeke or Cooper, whoever's being demanding. you work those two guys. Okay, Zeke's being a little more flexible. Let's go to Zeke. Let's get him. We got him for 14 and a half. We put that down. Now we've got this money for Coop. Coop, you were your last. This is what we got. We're going to give it to you. But now you're talking about second tier players, or a trade or anything that could happen in the offseason. We may not be able to make any moves. So these are things you got to take into effect. Dak is the most important right now, and that's because of the amount of money it's going to require. And if he can take $2-3 million discount, it's a percentage thing. Ezekiel Elliott, if he can take $1.5 million, what I say discount, he still needs to be the highest paid running back in the league. So you put him right there, you get that deal done. I think Zeke is actually the easiest because he does deserve to be the highest paid. He's the best running back in the NFL. So you lock that number in if you want to go that way, and then you work the other two guys. But that's why it's not moving quick, guys, is there's three guys we have to work. We have to feel it out. And like I said, if you pay A too much, you can't pay B as much. If you pay B too much, then you can't pay C as much as it goes down in a chain. It's a chain reaction. So anyways, guys, that's my point on it. I know everybody else is kind of saying the same thing. I am pissed NFL Network put us at 14th in the power ranking. Ridiculous. I think they do that to get us fired up, so I'm not going to let them do that to me. I'm not going to let them get my blood pressure boiling. And another thing was they did the top 5 defensive players in the league. Didn't even have this guy up there. They didn't even have him on the top 10 to make him eligible for the top 5. They were talking about Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, it went to Aaron Donald. Von Miller was number 3. Khalil Mack was number 2. So, those guys typical should be up there. But I think DeMarcus Lawrence definitely deserved to be on the board with the top 10, at least to be considered. So that's the end of the video, guys. I went a lot longer than I thought I was going to, but I hope you appreciate it. Cowboy Crunk from Kabul, Afghanistan, headed back to Houston, then to Germany. I will be, like I said, doing some live traveling in there, hitting London, hitting Milan, Italy, hitting some places there when I'm on my weekends. Not every weekend, but maybe once a month or so. So stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't before, like and subscribe. And more cowboy content coming at you from all around the world, baby. All around the world. Cowboys, baby, everywhere. Peace.